to the second episode of Ladies in Their 80s Talking Football. This is Troy Lewis talking to Mama, my mom, and my Aunt Grace. So yesterday, well, let's take it back to Sunday because now here we are at Tuesday. So what surprised you the most, Mama and Aunt Grace? And turn off your cell phone. Put it on silent. We're on the air, Mama. Turn off your cell phone. Aunt Grace, is your phone off?
Yes.
Okay. Whew. Man, it's hard corralling the two of you sometimes. And for those of you tuning in, I love giving Mama and Aunt Grace orders because they were always giving me orders growing up. And Mama's giving me, Mama, stop looking at your cell phone. They were always giving me orders when I was growing up as a kid. So what surprised the two of you the most from this weekend? Aunt Grace, I'll start with you. Let's take the Eagles out of the equation from last night. Erase that from your database. And by the way,
can't do that.
Mama, Aunt Grace and I, we both had the Eagles to move on to week 3 from the survivor pool. That did not happen. You know what? What the heck? Aunt Grace, let's start right there with the Eagles last night losing to the Atlanta Falcons. What do you have to say?
They don't deserve a shirt. That's why I'm advertising the Sixers.
So when we wanted to record this, I think Aunt Grace had on an Eagles jersey, but we ran into some technical difficulties. So we re-recorded today, which is Tuesday. Tuesday, what is today's date? September 17th. Yesterday, we started to record and we ran into some issues. So I'm dropping the yellow flag. And so things didn't work out for the Eagles. So Aunt Grace, what would you attribute last night's loss to? What was one or two things that stood out the most for you last night?
Okay. When they didn't kick the field goal, that was the first thing.
Take the points. Vince Lombardi always said that back in the 1950s. When you get down there, take the points. Okay.
They would have won.
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else?
Oh, anything else? What's his name? Barkley, of course.
Saquon Barkley. Yes, ma'am.
And the interception and the offensive line wasn't there. No. I don't know where they went. And
the defense, what about the defensive line on that last possession?
Oh, yes.
Trying to put pressure on Kirk Cousins.
Yes. There was no pressure on all night.
All right, so I'm laughing.
I could have done better.
My mom at 80-something years old, she said she could have put more pressure on Kirk Cousins. And you know what, Mama? I'm not going to argue with you. I think you and I'm in my 60s, you're in your 80s. Every quarterback, even Tom Brady, despite how great he is / was, if you put pressure on him, he didn't have good success. And Kirk Cousins last night in the Eagles game against the Falcons, they put no pressure on him.
None.
It was easy for him to go zip, zip down the field. The Eagles made Kirk Cousins look like Joe Montana last night. And we all know there's only one Joe Montana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because he's got 4 Super Bowls and no losses.
I was wondering if he had COVID and they were afraid to go near it.
You know, Mama, that may have been the case. Maybe the Eagles got the memo and we did not. Yeah. So that was not a good night for Troy Lewis or Aunt Grace, because we both had the Eagles moving on in our survivor pool. So let's go back farther in the weekend. Aunt Grace, Mama, what made you pick the Chargers? Because I think that was your pick for this past weekend. What made you pick them?
I picked them because they're a strong team, and they were playing North Carolina.
Carolina. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with that. And for those of you tuning in, I think anybody picking against the Carolina Panthers, that may be a way to go, because it seems as though the Carolina Panthers are one of the weaker teams to start off the year. But we all know how that goes. That could change next
At any moment. But
at,
Troy,
at any moment.
Troy,
Yes, ma'am.
did you, they're changing quarterbacks, you know.
I saw that.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, yeah.
Oh,
I saw
my.
that. That's a big switch.
Brought Grandpa back.
Yeah, they brought Grandpa back. Aunt Grace, I didn't even know Andy Dalton was still in the league.
Around.
Me either. I was surprised when I heard that.
Yes. Off the top of my head, TCU still lives. That's where he went to school, I believe, Texas Christian University.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that Andy Dalton was still in the league. He's always been a capable backup, but yeah, that surprised me. And Bryce Young was the #1 overall pick 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I hope that doesn't kill his ego too much, because everything in sports and in life and in work is, if you've got confidence, you can do anything. But if you lose your confidence, it really shakes you up for everything that you have to go through. So I hope Bryce Young can fight through it, despite being benched for Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
It might give him some incentive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. So I'm going to look at my list of questions I want to ask you. So after 2 weeks, I'm going to switch it up and say, Aunt Grace, after 2 weeks, who do you consider the 2 best teams? And Mama, who do you consider the 2 worst teams? So Aunt Grace, who do you think are the 2 best teams? Sporting. Aunt Grace, while you're thinking on that, what number, do you have a numbered jersey for your Sixers uniform?
3.
Oh, Allen Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
So Allen Iverson is a Peninsula grad from our neck of the woods, as I talked about last time with Grandpop Lattimore. Grandpop Lattimore, my grandpop and their mom, he would always refer
Their
to
dad.
you know what I meant. Their dad. Thank you.
That. Go ahead.
Mama, I'm not as young as you, so sometimes I get my words mixed up. So Grandpop Lattimore, my grandpa, their dad, would often refer to someone as being from a certain neck of the woods. So Allen Iverson is from our neck of the woods. He went to Bethel High School, and I think Allen came out in 93, 94. I know he was at Georgetown 95, 96, and then he went pro early. But yeah, so Aunt Grace is sporting a number 3 jersey for AI. Yes. All right, so Aunt Grace, after 2 weeks, who do you consider the 2 best teams in the NFL right now?
Well, I guess I have to go with the Saints and the Chiefs.
The Saints and the Chiefs.
Hmm.
Mama, do I ever bet against Patrick Mahomes?
No.
No. Do you ever bet against Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Aunt Grace?
No.
Aunt Grace bets against Patrick Mahomes when they're playing the Eagles.
True.
She loves her Philadelphia teams. But Mama and I, we will never bet against Patrick Mahomes. All right, so Mama, who are your two worst teams? So Aunt Grace, two best teams, the Chiefs and the Saints.
Mhm.
Okay, and Mama, two worst teams.
I would have to say the Panthers
Mm-hmm.
and mm, the Rams. Why you set back on that?
Well, I think Matthew Stafford, their quarterback, is a quality quarterback, but they've had a lot of injuries. So I can understand why you would say that. And
Yeah.
now that I'm hearing that Cooper Kupp, who's probably my favorite wide receiver just because of his name and he's good, Cooper Kupp, I love that name, may be out for 4 to 6 weeks because of an injury.
That's going to really hurt them. That's going to impact it.
Yeah, big time. I would agree. I would agree. All right. Have the two of you looked ahead to next week? On Grace, I know you and I still have one pick left in the survival pool.
You do.
Mama, don't ask me questions. I got picks left. Don't ask me
All
how
right,
many picks
all
I made. So yeah, I got picks left. But on Grace, I know that you don't have any picks left, but last year you continued to make picks as the season went along, and you did very well, even though you got knocked out in week 3 or 4. So if you had to pick,
You would have won last year.
yes, I think she would have won.
She would have, yeah.
So, Aunt Grace, if you had to pick one team for next week in a survivor pool, whom would it be? Have you looked at it yet?
No, I haven't.
All right.
But with the way that Saints have been playing.
So I'm going to look at who the Saints are playing. On Grace, they are playing the Eagles in New Orleans.
I'll still go with the Saints.
You'll still go with the Saints. And
Mhm.
Mama, do you have one pick for next week?
I'm
this coming week?
strongly considering Tampa Bay.
So Tampa Bay is playing
Denver.
Oh,
You know, Mama, I won't dispute that. Bo Nix, the quarterback with Denver, has looked very shaky. He's had a number of opportunities to lead the team down the field for the Broncos. First week was on the road at Seattle. Second week was at home against the Steelers. He really didn't do that much. And I know that he had a up and down career at Auburn, and then he transferred to Oregon, and he did well there, but they didn't get over the hump. They couldn't beat Washington when it counted, University of Washington when it counted. So you know what? I can't fight you on that. Yeah.
Okay, but it's still early.
It's only week 3.
yeah, but Tampa Bay's been good.
I still have a couple of days to do.
Yeah. Yes, Aunt Grace, Baker Mayfield has been playing well. It's really been, I'm happy for Antonio Pierce, the coach of the Raiders, that knocked out one of my picks.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I had the Ravens. I had the Ravens, the Eagles, and Houston. So I'm down to one pick left. But hey, congrats to Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
We always pull for certain coaches, and we can let the listeners the people who tune in, they can figure out why we pull for certain coaches. So with that being said, we're near the end of this episode. Anything, Mama or Aunt Grace, you wanted to tell our listeners, our viewers, as we kind of sign off? Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot because y'all never know what kind of questions I might ask you might ask of you. Here's one thing that I'll say, because I can see you're both going, no, not so much. If you had to drop a yellow flag on one thing in the NFL season, what would it be?
What do you?
As in, what is one thing that has really caught you off guard with the NFL this year? So as you're thinking on that, here's one thing that has caught me off guard. I think the NFL thought that they were going to get more explosive plays in the run backs, the kickoffs, and that has not come to fruition. I think they thought that, yes, they want to cut down on the injuries, but it's football. And people are either just taking a knee in the end zone, or they're just not getting great returns. Here we are going into week 3. We've only had one kickoff return for a touchdown. I don't think there have been any punt returns for a touchdown. If Butley is tuning in, a friend of mine, well, not a friend of mine, pretty much my only friend from elementary school, he will say, oh, there was a kickoff return in week 1 by so-and-so. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But what are your thoughts around the new kickoff rules? Do you like it? Do you like them taking a knee? Do you like that everyone has to remain stationary until someone catches the ball? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like that. Injury.
It cuts down on injuries.
Yeah,
Yes.
I definitely think that it will lessen some of the injuries.
That's about it.
But you're okay with it not increasing the possibility of scoring?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not
So
with the way some of the teams have been playing, I don't think so. I was watching last night. Last night, when they weren't paying attention and the ball just hit them in the back of the head. So it might make them more alert.
I saw that. Okay. Sometimes this is all unscripted. I never know what my mom or my Aunt Grace might say. So I'm going to wrap it up there. And Aunt Grace, I will see the two of you next week. I hope to do this before Monday night. We were going to do it last night, but we ran into some technical issues. Primarily, the number one technical issue was the Eagles losing. Saquon, catch the ball. There are certain things in sports that they teach you. Butley Jarvis taught me how to establish my pivot and get in what's called the 3D position, triple threat position, where you catch the ball. You establish your pivot foot, and you can pass, you can dribble, or you can shoot from that position. One of the first things they teach you in football is to look the ball into your hands before you start to run. And Saquon last night did not do that, because had he done so, he could have caught the ball, been tackled, and the Eagles could have run out the clock.
Yeah.
Yes. They could have taken what do we call it? The Aunt Grace, let's see, Mama and Aunt Grace, if you're really paying attention. What do you call it when you run out the clock and you don't snap? You snap the ball, but you don't try to make a play. What do you call that?
You take a knee? No.
You take a knee, yeah. You know, I'm not good with, you call it the victory
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
formation.
Oh,
So you just take a knee and you don't snap the ball anymore.
okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
that's called the victory formation. You've given up and the game is moving on. Let's let the clock run down to 0 and let's go home. Let's
Yeah.
count our money.
That's what
So
they could have done.
Yes, so had Saquon caught that ball last night, the Eagles could have formed a victory formation for the rest of the plays because the Falcons had no more timeouts.
Right.
Yeah, so I went to sleep last night about right when the game went off, about 11:45, 11:47. And then I go, okay, I got to go to work tomorrow. I go to sleep. And then I woke up at 4:33. And the first thing that hit my brain was, I can't believe the Eagles blew that game last night. And I don't really have to get up until 6, but I couldn't go back to sleep because it just made me sick to my stomach. Yeah. All
Their
right.
home opener too.
I know you can't lose your home opener on Grace. Come on. Who does that? Catch the ball, Saquon. And I love Saquon. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
You gotta look the ball into your hands.
Those were some upset Eagle fans last night.
Yeah, so the pool that we're in, we started with about close to 900 people, and we're now down after 2 weeks. We're now down to 231 people left in the pool, I believe is the right number. So good luck to everyone else left in the pool. And we'll pick it up from there. So Mama and Aunt Grace, I will see the two of you next week. And good betting and good luck to everyone else who wants to wager on the NFL. All right. Mama, Aunt Grace.
Troy,
You know I love you.
I love you.